Hello, dear viewers. We are pleased to welcome everyone to the International Roundtable on the International Conference Global Crisis. It is already touching everyone, which was held on 24th July 2021 on the platform of the International Public Movement, ALLATRA. The people themselves, volunteers from all over the world who have a sensible view of reality, together with scientists and specialists from many sectors, showed in a comprehensive way the cause and effect links of the various crises that everyone is facing today, as well as the impending global catastrophe. The conference was broadcast live to thousands of channels in more than 72 simultaneous interpretation languages. The issues raised at the conference generated unprecedented public interest. So during the broadcast, we received many comments and questions from viewers to elaborate on the topics raised. So we are continuing the theme of the global crisis in a series of international roundtables. Today, we will talk about the threats that await humanity and the possible consequences in the economic and social spheres. Today, at our roundtable conference, participants are His Excellency Nitusmita Saika, Konstantin Raibachu Kumar Iyer, and Marina. Nitusmita Saika, what were your impressions of the conference, and could you please share your experience of participation as simultaneous interpreter?
Oh, thank you so much, Kushum. And I'm feeling very privileged to be a part of today's show as well as 24th July conference on global crisis as part of the public movement of ALLATRA. I believe this conference has great importance because we are at the verge of extinction. If we say truly, entire global, with all species, entire nation, entire human race are really at the verge of dead zone. So, being the, as we say, as we feel, we are the great creation of God, we have to act that way, the great creation of God, and we can only save the world. I won't elaborate all the crises what we are facing because everyone more or less know that what we are facing. We can see everywhere how the species are getting extinct from their earth, how the nature is affecting, and the crisis in environment, climate is affecting our life, then economic, social, everything is affecting. And it is bringing a future for our progeny full of threats, full of uncertainty. And a kind of fear now is flowing in the minds of our people, because what will we eat if there is no nature? What we will do when there is no harmony and peace between two person. So this kind of conference is very important to bring the awareness among the people, because when we are aware, we can invent solution. And it is not just the duty of the research person, the specialist and all, but every human being. As the great creation of God, we are responsible to save the world, to participate in all this discussion. Then only we can make out some solutions. So I will congratulate actually ALLATRA for this movement, organizing such important conference on some important issues, because general people generally will take everything in general, but when the experts come and they comment on these issues, then the things become more clear to general people, common people. So we believe does not just in social media also, being participant, we also can create some awareness program like such conferences in everywhere, city to city, village to village, town to town, country to country also, who are not actually eligible or able to access social medias and all, and so that we can make the next generation, our progeny, aware, to build their attitude to face those issues in future, those coming threatening situation, to save not just own life, to save entire mankind. So it's very important. And it enhanced my knowledge also when I joined this conference on 24th. Being a translator also, I came to know a lot of important things. Water crisis, plants are dying. We are living on plants. We are living on air, on soil. We are sharing, we all entire, you can say every human being is sharing same air, same soil, same water. Still we are fighting, and we don't want to see that everything is, going out of our hand. And one day will come when we will, there will be none to solve this problem. It is only we who can take the first step for the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitusmita, for your feedback. Global digitalization and automation, robotization, and trends that are gaining momentum right now. What are the threats to humans from this process in the consumer format of society? It is a pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Pavel Fedosov.
This is not an idle question. Many do not like to answer it openly. Many do not distinguish the concept of crisis from some instability, from some temporary troubles. The crisis, after all, is a protracted phenomenon, and we are already seeing how the coronavirus crisis is dragging on in the first place. And it is pulling the crises that we have long been waiting for. It has been long enough since the last economic crisis, and we expect that now it will come again. But it will be in a different context. It will be a kind of digital economic crisis. Everyone can see now that they have actively taken up the regulation of digital ecosystems, the regulation of digital companies, and so on and so forth. And this, at some point in time, will lead to the fact that this information, this wealth that we now possess in the information age, it will again become something so mysterious and something so accessible only to a limited circle of people. Everyone is closing more and more and protecting their territories, their data. And issues with data, issues of their accessibility, issues of transmission and accordingly transmission of information, it will cause such a larger crisis. We can, I certainly don't assert it, but we can dive back into the digital Middle Age, when we will communicate only with a clearly limited circle of people, with whom you can communicate, not with deviant characters, not with criminals, not with some dissidents. And all this generates a certain society of distrust. And it seems to me that a major crisis, in fact, lies with this, because it concerns precisely relations between people. And so, of course, digitalization is the second crisis, which will probably lead to problems with jobs, as the employees will be gradually replaced by robots. For example, there are factories in Shanghai where robots assemble robots. In Germany, there are already absolutely dark factories, where there are no people at all. Machines and mechanisms operate synchronously with each other. And accordingly, another main crisis that may happen in the near future is of economic nature. We see the enormous level of debt that some countries have, some states as well as some people. We all see everything what's going on about these microfinancial institutions as more and more people are being driven into this credit bondage. It absolutely affects the subconscious, meaning living from paycheck to paycheck with constant makeshifts. This tremendously narrows the space for maneuver and for some self-development. We fall down again in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs to provide ourselves with some food. And again, back to the first topic, we return to some medievalism. So I would point out these four crises in the order of probability of occurrence. And it is no coincidence that the last economic one, I would put it in last place, because I actually believe that it is still possible to change that.
Format of society, the economy is set up in a way that puts people in the position of a medieval man. We spend all our time just to satisfy our basic needs. While technology is rapidly advancing, human life is only getting worse. Isn't that absurd? At the conference, the risks of creating a superintelligence were also voiced, and what it can lead to. Dear viewers, you can watch this conference on ALLATRA TV if you haven't watched it already. And now we will turn now to next speaker, Mr. Kumar.
Good evening, everyone. The conference was something which was very appropriate and which was the need of the hour. The reason being that we are in the midst of a crisis, and whether we want to accept it or not, we have to live with it. And the sooner we try and solve these problems, the sooner we will try and claw our way out of this mess which we have created. Unfortunately, and this is what I really liked about the conference, is that we use this as a platform to shine the light on the various issues which are leading to these crises. There were some solutions which were offered, but at least the problems were very clearly highlighted. And that is important. Knowing that we are in a problem, knowing that we have a problem, and knowing that we have to solve this ourselves. We cannot look for someone from outside to come and solve it for us. That is important. And that was what was most enlightening for me about the conference. I can go on and on about the various issues, but Nitusmita already talked about it, and I'm sure the other speakers also will touch upon these topics as well. But the one thing which I find, and this is something which surprises me also and pains me also, is that even at this late stage in our crisis, where we are maybe, I don't know very honestly if a lot of this world will see 2030 the way it is. And in spite of all this, we are still not giving up our greed. We are still greedy for more technology, greedy for more money, greedy for more power. I mean, when the world will not exist anymore, what are we going to do with all this? So instead of committing resources to correcting what's wrong with the world, we are committing resources to making our lives more luxurious. That's the paradox which actually pains me. So this is what was my impression from the conference, and I actually would encourage the hosts, the organizers, that we should have more such conferences periodically so that we are able to get more and more people involved in this movement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And yes, it's such a paradox. And we are in the midst of a crisis, as you said, Mr. Kumar. Thank you so much. We've discovered, in quite some detail, the topic of of the economic crisis, how unstable the economic situation of human beings is today in the consumer format of society. But today, human life is also threatened by global climate change. And it is very sad that today true information about climate change on the planet does not reach people in full. Participants of ALLATRA movement ask people what they know about climate change, and let's hear the answers.
Yes, climate disasters are on the rise. I think the news does cover it, but then some people just decide to turn a blind eye to it, unfortunately. And that's across races, that's across, economic statuses. Like, some people just don't believe that it's really happening. It really, really is. If we believe the science and we understand that climate change is really a problem, once we can have a general agreement about that and take politics out of it, then we can begin to really make some differences with our environment.
I don't know, maybe people simply don't have information, but they still consider it either a matter of the distant future or something that affects not us, but other parts of the world.
Online, we see many posts about climate change, and we have to take care of our world to survive so that we don't have to move to Mars. So it's better on Earth. How I can contribute to this is like acknowledging this topic about natural disasters and helping others to understand how it is to survive in a planet.
Yes, I understand that this is evident from the climate, which has changed a lot, and from various events. Well, it's our own fault.
Yes, we have seen it on the news, people talking about climate change and global warming. People know about it, but they're kind of lazy to do something.
Of course, the number of natural disasters is currently increasing. I have seen some reports, for example, videos in TikTok and on YouTube, about which I know little, but not so much in detail.
There is a certain silicity in the climate, and many assume that the climate change is only a manifestation of this silicity.
If there were more people who indeed realize that the world and nature are suffering, we would change this. But I also understand that this is quite difficult because there are people for whom it does not matter that the state of the planet is deteriorating.
A human does not protect nature, nothing. He digs. They keep on digging those very oil rigs. It's all coming from the bowels of the earth. This layer created by the Almighty becomes distorted. The natural balance is disturbed, and as a result, all this happens, and no one can cope with this alone.
Global warming is certainly observed in the Middle East. There are lots of people who are concerned about this. But the people cannot change this, because there are countries that are failing in terms of economy, safety, and politics.
I'm well aware of the climate and what is happening to it. This is a big problem that we are facing. And this is with ice. I think that there is a small problem with glaciers. I mean, not a small, but a huge one. And it just gives rise to a big climate crisis.
We need to take care of where we live and what we will leave behind, what we will basically leave to our children.
Seems to me that the media is trying to hide this, to give it less importance. Of course, the Earth belongs to everyone, and it is the duty of all countries to take care of it.
I think it's a thing everybody has to unite, and yeah, it's not nothing you can change on your own. So maybe spread awareness is the first step, and then take actions as a group, as a community.
As this problem is increasing, we simply cannot ignore the fact that something is happening to nature around us. And this is a fact. This is already reaching the level of human civilization. It is all over the world and in Brazil too. And if humanity does not unite to find ways to solve this problem, it will have a terrible impact on our civilization.
Of course, all believers assume that this is all going to the end of the world. You see, what the Bible actually indicates is happening right now.
This really is a turning point. And we ourselves can reverse this process as well as be included in it. After all, in the present moment, we don't know the conditions for many people on
people's health and life. We need to hold a lot of conferences, shoot a lot of videos, so that people know what is happening in the world.
The governments have to just put some rules. Countries have to make, for example, conference or something to put rules together to decide what to do about it, because it's not something to do in 1 day or 2 days. It's not something easy.
Absolutely. As the survey participants pointed out, people today vitally need to unite. Climate is not a local problem of one person or even a country. It is our common problem, which we can only cope with together. Konstantin, do you think you can please share your view and opinions on this topic? Konstantin?
Yes, sorry. The picture and the sound was a little bit frozen. Yes, of course, I'd like to share my opinion about that. First of all, my impression about the conference, and I participated as an interpreter. I was behind the screen translating from and into English. And I feel very privileged and honored to participate in such a huge, truly human event that makes difference in our society and makes difference in the world. I wish there were more of us who were taking part in this conference. I wish we had more languages, more people to be involved in that, because this is truly concerns and affects everyone right now. And I am feeling that we are the ones who would take more actions to, try to awake people and tell them about what is coming, and do whatever we can again to unite the society among one common goal, which is called the creative society. Because this is indeed for all of us the only way out of the situation of the crisis that we're all facing, that we're all being affected right now. And we, beside of that, that's at some point a very good chance to become one big family, to become a civilization of people where on the first place are universal true human values, like the value of life, the value of choice, freedom of choice, and that's what is going to help us become indeed a civilization, which is civilization of people, not civilization of consumers, but the civilization of people. If you don't mind, I would like to say a few more words about the economic crisis that was mentioned today. Again, the economic crisis, from my point of view, this is the crisis of earning money, because the economy in the consumer society, first of all, in first hands, the aim of it is to earn money. But if we create the economy where the first place would be to supply people with necessary goods, with high quality goods, products, food, and so on, then we will have no crisis in the economy as well. Because again, it all depends upon us. The way out of any kind of the crisis is, first of all, begins with the mind thinking that we have. If the person enjoys consumer formative thinking and so on, then there will be crisis for sure. However, if we change our mind of thinking from consumeristic into the creative one, then we will be only developing. We will be going in the evolution step higher and higher and becoming more and more advanced civilization, where the word a crisis would be, removed from our dictionary and substituted with something, positive like development and so on. Thank you very much.
Kusum, would you like to introduce our next guest and say a couple of words?
So we have Marina here, and we'd like her to share about the conference speech. The planet won't survive cataclysm because we've additionally killed ecology. Ms. Marina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kusum. Greetings, dear friends. And before I start with my speech about the ecology and the situation, I would like to say how I feel honored and privileged that I had that chance to participate in the preparation of this conference and point your attention that millions of people, not millions, millions of people were watching us yesterday, but thousands of people from 180 countries and all volunteers participate in initiative in creating this amazing global universal conference. And when you watch this conference, you feel really that this information that you hear right now make your blood chill. But at the same time, you realize that you hear right now the truth, and the truth that we didn't get a chance to hear for the past 6,000 years, the truth about true situation that we have right now on Earth. And we really feel that it's our responsibility to bring this information to every single person on Earth, because without that, without understanding of it, without knowing and seeing the true picture what's happening right now, we will not be able to make a right choice. And we need to understand that right now our entire civilization will face the global cataclysms, and we have experienced this cataclysm caused by cyclicity as a humankind more than once in the history of Earth. The evidence for this is abundant. You just need to simply dig a drill and well study the underlying lines, and you will find everything. And the mechanism during this process is the same all the time. But it is so severe test for our planet each time. And now you and I are at the very point of the closest interaction, that transition point of the 24,000 cycles. That means this period when cataclysm will be ruthless and destructive. And in this challenging period for our planet is sick. Sick is never. Do you think the sick organism can withstand such a disaster? Definitely no. The destroyed ecology will accelerate the catastrophes. And if we hadn't destroyed our planet to such an extent, if we hadn't destroyed the ecosystem, it wouldn't have been so terrible. But we did it. We did it with our own hands, and we did it all together. And like, if you just simply imagine that we all sitting around one big table, and we're putting clean water, food on the table, but at the same time we put chemicals and poisonous next to our food, and then we start to roll up the tablecloths and mix all ingredients together, and then we start to eat. What do you think? What are our chances of surviving after eating such a food? And that's what will happen during the global catastrophes. And how much worse will it get when the cataclysm intensify? 24,000 years ago, our planet underwent a similar test already. Do we know how many people survived them? Very, very few. But back then, the planet was in a much better shape than it is right now. And geological studies confirm this. The situation was much better. The ice did not melt. The permafrost remained. Yes, the planet was shaking a little bit. It was very difficult to breathe. There was the ocean almost everywhere, but people survived. And they entered the new 24,000 year cycle because there was still quite a lot of room for life. But not right now, not like we have it. Back then, there were no vast megalopolises, which put additional pressure point on the Earth's surface, like we have right now, unfortunately. The planet was much more alive and healthier back then. And today, we have the worst possible situation, and we need to realize that. The soil, water, and air are polluted. Don't you think this will affect your life? And how long does it take for us to clean up this mess? What will happen to our atmosphere? Right now, every rocket that we launch leaves a trace in it, a harmful trace. And we're so happy when we see the rocket launching, but we don't realize what kind of harm it brings to our planet. We have mountains of trash, even the new continents of plastic. And please look at the windrows. Is it predictable or forecastable right now? No. The temperature patterns have changed. The upwelling and downwelling air currents are sharply changing their direction, and we cannot predict, we cannot estimate. Suppose the situation continues to develop as it is right now. In this case, the process of pollution will get worse because the consumption is increasing. And we do not have adequate and environmentally friendly technology for clean up, because in a consumer format, it's not in our interest. It requires money and requires rethinking. But in a consumer format, we only have one interest, and it is a profit. Nobody cares about human life. Nobody cares that in a couple of years we will not have a fresh water and fresh clean air. We only care about profit, to get it right now, to buy even more things that actually trash and will not have any value when the catastrophe increases. Earth in its current states will not survive these cataclysms and will most likely become a Mars-like planet. Do we really want to see Mars on Earth? I don't think so. Therefore, we really need to unite, and we really need to build together a creative society, the model of a society in which life is the highest value. And that means if the life will be the highest value. We will be able to find the solution all together. Because right now, it's so clear and understandable that we together created all this mess. And we together should really fix this problem. And this problem is so global, and it's impossible for one country to fix it. We really to unite. We really to get all countries, all our potential get together in order to survive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marina. And the state of the society is deplorable. And, you know, this is a transition point, a challenging point. Our planet is sick. There's so many points that you brought out so well. And do we want to actually create a Mars on Earth? But we still have time to realize what is happening, to assess all the risks and threats, and to do everything possible to save people's life in time. So, Mr. Kumar, how is the climate already affecting the well-being of everyone?
We are actually seeing the effects of the climate crisis on a daily basis. I mean, very unseasonal weather, unprecedented temperatures across the globe, cloudbursts at very short and unpredictable nature of the monsoons, which are currently on in India. You can see at the same time, in different parts of the world, there are floods. I mean, there are floods in Costa Rica, there are floods in India, there are floods in Germany, floods in Turkey, floods in China. So it's not like there is a part of the world which is unaffected. And at the same time, you see very high temperatures in different parts of the world. So you're seeing extremely unpredictable and unimaginable weather conditions. So the climate crisis is real. I mean, we have to accept it. As Marina said, we are fast approaching the point of no return. And if we don't start taking action right now, it will be too late. And unfortunately, what is happening, and this is very common with our generation, we have created this mess, but we don't want to clean it up. We're waiting for the next generation to actually come in and clean up our mess, and that is wrong. The first thing that we are taught is when you create a mess, clean it up before you leave. Unfortunately, our generation, because of their greed and because of the way we have now been conditioned to think and act, are believing that whatever will happen once our generation is gone. So I don't have to live with this mess in the future. Whoever is going to be alive at that time will clean it up. Why should I bother? And that is an absolutely wrong attitude. We have to actually put our hands up and say, we have done this and we will clean this. So, and this can happen only if there is a mass movement. We need to actually put pressure on the leaders in our countries to start seriously thinking about scaling down. I mean, growth is no longer an issue, because when we talk of growth, it's only going to make matters worse, because any growth is going to lead to more exploitation of resources and more pollution. Instead of growth, we need to look at sustainable development. We need to look at redeployment of resources so that each country has a consumption pattern which is based on the allocation for that country. We have thresholds for various parameters which we are going to be monitoring. And the collective conscience of the globe has to put their hands up and say that enough is enough, let's change. Unless we do that, we're not going to survive this crisis.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I'll return to one point here as well. Konstantin, we know that you're working in the breaking news on ALLATRA TV, and you see how severe cataclysms are. Are we ready for them as humanity? And also, what should the government do to keep people safe from the negative impacts of what's been happening with the climate and economic impacts?
Thank you very much, Robert, for the question. It's a very actual question. It goes without saying that this situation with the climate, it's obvious. It's getting worse. I mean, there is no place left on the planet that has not been hit by any kind of disaster, by any kind of cataclysm or anomaly. The problem is that not many people are taking this seriously, and this is very serious. I've been, participating in the news about cataclysms and about for at least maybe 4 years already, and I've been, watching all the time how the situation is been developing, and unfortunately it is getting worse, like I mentioned already. I wish more people took that more serious, and of course I wish the governments took that very serious. Why they're not taking it seriously? Well, I believe that's because they don't believe that once they're going to become old. That's because they don't believe that once the life gonna end. And of course, they probably don't believe that very soon their popularity, their power they're enjoying so much is going to alleviate. It's obvious. In this material world, everything has its beginning and everything has its end. However, we're all people and we're dual. We have spiritual and we have material part. And spiritual should dominate in people's life. And people as human beings, they should, live according to other, to live according with the other values. Unfortunately, we see the situation that we are trying to, the government, their officials, they're trying to increase some aureole of power, of importance, of whatever, to have people speak about them. But at the same time, we forget that, again, all those things, this is just something that is not going to last long, because life ends. Stars, they appear and disappear, just like galaxies. They appear and disappear. Everything, like I mentioned already, has its beginning and its end. But since we're supposed to live with other values, with human and spiritual values, people should understand that, again, that the most important thing for all of us that we have is the life. And we should value our own life like the life of every other human being, because that's what we have. That's what gives us a chance to become something more than a regular human being. And I'm approaching the question of spirituality, of what we really need to, in the direction we need to move to. I have already ideas after the conference, because I've been keeping thinking how to attract more attention of those people who have more power and more opportunities to do something for the society, I do have already ideas how to involve them in that, how to inform them about what is coming. And I hope that, again, together with the movement, with participants of the ALLATRA movement, with participants of the Creative Society project, we're gonna make more changes, because we understand that the situation is very serious, and that the only way out is to unite, and to unite not just one or two people, but to unite the whole potential of the whole humanity. Otherwise, it's gonna be bad. Because, again, the information that I have, and we show that in the breaking news every week, the situation is becoming only worse. That's why what we can do, we must do. Thank you.
Thank you. What we can do, we must do. Absolutely right, Konstantin. So, distinguished guests, perhaps you have questions for each other. You may ask them now, please. Robert?
No, go ahead. Somebody was good.
Yes. I would like to add something that Konstantin just mentioned. So the topic about unity, that we need to unite. And I absolutely agree that we really need to unite. But for many people, they cannot understand what that means to unite. And to unite around the idea of building a society, creative society, in which we really can unite. Because only the format of the new format of relation between people can really help us not only to survive this global catastrophe that already started, but also to bring a new era for all of us. And this is actually very, very, very simple, because we need to understand that either we change the format now, we change the format in which the human life has no value, to the format of a society in which every single person will be valuable. And we only have one chance right now, and we are so limited in a time, so we don't have to wait to join this project and to really start to share this vital information that we all heard today, and we all heard on that global conference, Global Crisis. This already concerns everyone. Thank you so much.
Marina, as you said, that we need to change the vector of our society. So that means, how do you think is important to inform people about what is this, about the creative society, which has no basically compare? That's where we need to stream. Nitusmita, what is your idea about that?
A great question, because we all human are in conflict because of this differentiation between caste, creed, social status, economic status, and all. And because of that, only the greed, to control someone others, to gain power above others. So all this actually mess, all this stress, all this garbage is engulfing our society, and same time the mind. I am agree with constant Richard that spiritual now to overcome all this greed, that differentiation between people to people, country to country, religion and all. I believe we need to touch that spirituality of, spiritually we can change the mindset of people. We cannot ask, direct a person, don't drink Coke, don't go to beach, don't play PUBG, don't go to pub. We cannot directly ask them to go and do it. But yes, if we touch them spiritually, we are on the verge of extinction, then only I think we can make them to think seriously what they are actually doing. And personally, I get involved in conflict with people whenever I travel in public transport, use public transport and all. I see people using without even she or he is not using water, they will keep the tap open. And as an instructor in National Cadet Corps, immediately I cannot stop myself, and I will point out, oh, don't please close the tap, the water, you're wasting the water. In that I get involved in conflict with who are you to say. So this is the situation of minds of people. Now the concept of creative society is like where all are equal. No is white, no is black, no is from this religion, no is. This equalness will bring the sense that air is same for us, water is same for us, so we are equally responsible for the mess. We are equally responsible to clean this mess. And when ocean will raise their voice, its voice, when wind will open their its wings, and when soil will quack, no AI, no health industry, no weapon industry can save this planet and our race. So this sense of equality is very important. Where in those countries where the war is going on, when there is no human, who will worship God? And in other countries where there is no war, they are thinking, okay, we are safe, we are enjoying. And it creates that, broaden that gap between human. So creative society, the concept should reach each and every mind, each and every heart. And especially being an instructor, I always happen to stay with, youngsters, teenagers. So I don't know about our generation, but I'm talking about the generation, new generation. If they understand, they grasp this concept, equality. And equality means creative. Creative means create the globe in a new way, with really with some mind, which in reality we can term that the best creation of God. This is human mind. So I believe for the teenagers, for the students, the creative society, this concept must reach their mind. And in that way, we can bring that new attitude, which we need. As Marina said, the earth is sick. To recover, to help our sick earth, we need a sound mind setup. And for the generation, they need to accept, they need to understand this concept of creative society. It is not, this society is for all. We have to be creative to cope with this new enemy, new problem, new threats. And this money-making society, this concept can be changed only through the new force. And that force is the untapped energy of our growing generation. So the concept of creative society must reach the new generation's mind first. That's it.
Thank you very much. I can see we have a new guest, Chong. Would you be able to tell us something about the conference? What impressed you and what do you think?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Robert. I feel very good because I think this is the first time in my life to do something like this. And I think this is very good for announce to the people. We have to aware for the thing that we do. It's like because someone they didn't how to say, it's like they didn't prepare themselves to aware about this thing. That's like today after I joined the meeting. And today I got the news from China. They have like the storm, the sandstorm. That's it. So I think, and also my country, we have the land is, how to say it, like the land is the land is down. I don't know how to say in English, but I think this conference is very good for the people, and we should to let the people understand why we have to plant the tree, why we have to love our earth, and why we have to do something for the new generation. Yes, I think this is very good. Very good. We should to continue to do the good thing like this. Yeah, keep going. Very good. Yes. That day I joined since the first meeting until to the end. Yeah, I am the translator to Thai people, and with my brother. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kumar, could you also share your view about how important it is for people to unite, and if it is possible for individual countries and governments to do and withstand the challenges alone, or it is important for us to unite together and try to cope with the challenges that are waiting us together as a humanity?
Robert, the time when one country could step up and say that I will solve this problem is long gone. We are a global community now. So whatever has to be done together. It is not possible for a single country to step up and say, I can solve this problem and I will be the champion for reversing what has happened in the last 30 years. It's not possible. We are a global community. Countries have to come together and realize that the earth is one. We have physically divided it into countries, but otherwise it's all one. The atmosphere surrounding the earth is one. The waters on the earth are all connected. So it is no longer possible for any individual country to say, I am not affected by this, because you are. You will have to face the reality that we are truly one world. And so and I give a very simple, I usually give this example. I can have a beautiful house, and if my neighborhood stinks, then my beautiful house is not of any value. That's the situation that we are in today. A country can be very nicely sequestered from the rest of the world. At least that's what they will believe. But in reality, what happens in one part of the world does affect the other parts of the world. And so we will all have to work together. We have to put aside our prejudices. We have to put aside our lack of trust. And we have to start truly believing that we are all brothers and sisters. And unless all of us survive, none of us will survive. That is the fact. So we have to, and this is one of the things that I like about the Creative Society, is this attitude of trying to at least we are talking about equality. We're talking about justice. We're talking about having uniformity across the globe. And that is important. More we talk about it, and the more we start practicing it, I think we can create a difference. We can make a difference, we can create an impact. And that is necessary. So, long story short, we need to start walking the talk. It's good that we believe in certain things, but now our actions have to show that we are ready to take some hard decisions so that we actually will translate our words into actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. And Marina, would you like to add something? I'm pretty sure that you have plenty information and interesting things to say.
Thank you so much, Robert. I really would like to add that in the last speech of Leslie, he said, that it is not a coincidence that nature gave birth to 8 billions of us. So, and that's what we have right now. And that's exactly that numbers is necessary for us as a civilization to go from one level of development to another. And that's exactly the number that is necessary right now to fix our problem with ecology. So, and again, it's only in this amount of people that we are right now, we can change the format from a consumer to a creative. And that is very, very important information. And when I heard it, I really understood that it is a time right now, and it is possible for us as a civilization to not only to survive, but only to create a beautiful future, the beautiful society in which every single person on earth, it doesn't matter in which part of the globe you will live, but you will be able to live like a human. You will have a beautiful life, and you don't have to be worried about the future of your family, the future of your kids. So I hope that as many people as possible will be able to listen to this conference and will be able to understand and really to start act in order that we all as a one global human family can really survive. Thank you.
Indeed, that's so beautiful. We all need to survive, because, and also what Mr. Kumar said, that we need to start walking the talk. Indeed, the unification of people today is a vital need. Looking at the situation in the world, we realize that building a creative society is the only way out. Thanking you all speakers for sharing that humanity has come to a point where the choice is with us to, save it. It's only with us. So, dear viewers, what are the global challenges, in your opinion, that we face as humanity? And is there a way out? We would love to hear your views on it. Please record a short video of your understanding. What was it about the conference that interested you and that impacted you the most? So you can write to us and post it on info@allatra.com. Also, dear viewers, even if you have not seen the conference so far, you can do it now and find it in your language on the website allatraunites.com. It is translated into more than 72 languages for the world. This catastrophe will continue if we all do not take action for each one of us, and if we continue to act in a consumerist format. Understand, money cannot buy you oxygen to breathe. It will not be available. We are seeing this happening right now, when thousands of people died because there was no oxygen available. Mind you, there was money, but there was no oxygen available. There are hundreds of landslides, floods, places that have drought, and we are seeing it right now. So I urge each one of you to rise and take action, as every person will have to do that to save themselves and humanity. For every single person, our behavior and attitude is the root cause. We have the power to change it. There are actions each one of us needs to take in our homes, in our businesses, in our societies, that will initiate a change of specific positive consequences for humanity, which every speaker here has spoken today. The only limit is our commitment, each one's commitment towards this action. So I would like to conclude with Mahatma Gandhi's wise words. The earth, the air, the land, and water are not an inheritance from our forefathers, but on a loan from our children. So we have to hand over to them, at least as it was handed over to us. Thank you so much, and namaste.
Thank you, Kusum. As you said, yes, it's very important to spread this message and all the information to as much people as possible. Therefore, we will also continue the roundtables in this roundtable series for various topics which were covered by the conference. And we encourage all the viewers and also the speakers, you can roundtables yourself as well, so that we spread this message and information to as possible. Thank you very much for table. And I believe that all the following roundtables will spread the information even more and will have even more viewers and participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will talk about the threats that await humanity and the possible consequences in the economic and social spheres. Today, at our roundtable conference, participants are His Excellency Nitusmita Saika, Konstantin Rybachuk, Kumar Iyer, and Marina. Nitusmita Saika, what were your impressions of the conference, and could you please share your experience?
This is not an idle question. Many do not like to answer it openly. Many do not distinguish the concept of crisis from some instability, from some temporary troubles. The crisis, after all, is a protracted phenomenon, and we are already seeing how the coronavirus crisis is dragging on in the first place, and it is pulling the crises that we have long been waiting for. It has been long enough since the last economic crisis, and we expect that now it will come again. But it will be in a different context. It will be a kind of digital economic crisis. Everyone can see now that they have actively taken up the regulation of digital ecosystems, the regulation of digital companies, and so on and so forth. And this, at some point in time, will lead to the fact that this information, this wealth that we now possess in the information age, it will again become something so mysterious and something so accessible only to a limited circle of people. Everyone is closing more and more and protecting their territories, their data. And issues with data, issues of their accessibility, issues of transmission and accordingly transmission of information, it will cause such a larger crisis. We can, I certainly don't assert it, but we can dive back into the digital Middle Age, when we will communicate only with a clearly limited circle of people, with whom you can communicate. Not with deviant characters, not with criminals, not with some dissidents. And all this generates a certain society of distrust. And it seems to me that a major crisis, in fact, lies with this, because it concerns precisely relations between people. And so, of course, digitalization is the second crisis, which will probably lead to problems with jobs, as the employees will be gradually replaced by robots. For example, there are factories in Shanghai where robots assemble robots. In Germany, there are already absolutely dark factories, where there are no people at all. Machines and mechanisms operate synchronously with each other. And accordingly, another main crisis that may happen in the near future is of economic nature. We see the enormous level of debt that some countries have, some states as well as some people. We all see everything what's going on about these microfinancial institutions as more and more people are being driven into this credit bondage. It absolutely affects the subconscious, meaning living from paycheck to paycheck with constant makeshifts. This tremendously narrows the space for maneuver and for some self-development. We fall down again in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs to provide ourselves with some food. And again, back to the first topic, we return to some medievalism. So I would point out these four crises in the order of probability of occurrence. And it is no coincidence that the last economic one, I would put it in last place, because I actually believe that it is still possible to change that.